Leadership Challenge, the book. All right, how many of you are not familiar with the book? How many of you are not familiar with student leadership? Just checking. Awesome. So I am excited to be here. I work with an organization, Collegiate Empowerment. You just learned a little bit about us. I want to learn a little bit about you. How many of you are kind of just getting started in the field? Your first year, second year, third year? Put your hand. Be sure about it. All right. How many of you are 4, 5, 6, 7 years, something like that? 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Keep going. Ages. I know a lot of us, so we got a really big span of who's in the audience. I'm so glad that you're here. If you can do me a favor, just so we can build the energy in the networking, turn to the person on your left or on your right. If you haven't already done so, shake their hand and say, hey, I'm glad you're here. Hey, I'm glad you're here. All right. Well, welcome to the Student Leadership Challenge experience. This is kind of the seminar where we bring the book to life. We're going to give you a crash course. We've got a relationship, kind of a partnership with Wiley, who's the publisher of the book. So if you're already familiar with the book, this will be, of course, a crash course. If you're like, what's the Student Leadership Challenge? Well, it's been around for 30 years, and we want to kind of introduce it to you in this 50-minute session. So if you're ready, say, oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Now, if you hate lectures, you're going to love what we're about to do. We're going to make sure that we have some what?
Fun.
All right, I appreciate the interaction. We're going to learn some stuff really generic. And then lastly, we're going to feel how? Empowered. Now, the word empower, and this is what we all do here, but the word empower, we are collegiate empowerment. It means to share your power with others. So they have the ability to, number one, make decisions, and number two, take action. Would you agree? Yes. Right, so that's our job. My job here this morning is just to help empower you so that you've got some of the tips and the tricks of the Student Leadership Challenge, but then of course it's your job to go back and share that with your colleagues and share that with your students. Are you willing to commit 100%?
Yes.
Go ahead, prove it, stand up.
Woo!
As you stand up, put your hands all the way up, stretch to your left. No, left. It's all right, it's early. Stretch to your right. Get a good stretch in there. Stretch all the way back on the count of 3. Give me a big bump. 1, 2, 3. Oh. You really needed that. All right, point to yourself. Say, I now commit 100%.
I now commit 100%.
Say, this is important to my students.
This is important to my students.
Point to your head and say, I will apply what I learned.
I will apply what I learned.
Look at your neighbor, most importantly, and say, hey, you.
Hey, you.
You're going to have some fun.
You're going to have some fun.
Look at somebody else and say, so are you.
So are you. So are you.
All right, find 5 people you don't know. Introduce yourself with a good high 10. Do that now.
All right. High five.
How many of you feel like you've got a little bit more energy now than you did just a moment ago? Say, oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right? How can we be at our personal best if we don't put our personal best into it? Are you with me? No, the response is, oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Look, you saw pictures of my kids. I taught my daughter a long time ago. I said, Ella, say, oh yeah. She said, oh yeah. I said, say, oh yeah, baby. She said, oh baby. I said, oh no. So let's keep the energy going as we get into this. Is that cool?
Cool.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right, the test kind of worked. All right, so we've got the Student Leadership Challenge here, and I want to kind of bring this book to life for you, for your students, so that you can go back. The thing that I love about it most, and Jeff, we were just talking about this, it's so simple, not in a dumb way, but it's so practical, it's so easy to use, right? Right? That's kind of, if you're familiar with it, that's our favorite thing about it. I mean, I've worked with Temple University for 7 years. They've seen all of our seminars. We did this one, and the client said, that's our favorite. Of everything, of the karate board break, because it's so simple, it's so easy to apply. So I want to help us kind of understand that. Leadership, according to the authors, is the art of mobilizing others to want to struggle for shared aspirations. So first, leadership is the what?
Art.
The art, because you can look at a piece of art and we can all have different interpretations of it, yeah? Right, that's why it's art. To what? To mobilize others. What does that mean to us, to mobilize others? What does that mean as we are working with students in leadership development? To move them, to engage them, to get them to take action, right? To mobilize others to what? To want, right? The big thing, to want. Not just to struggle. Because we know leadership isn't easy, right? We do it, we're leaders, but it's to want to struggle. It's to want to go through it for what? shared aspirations, common goals, right? Something that brings us all together, right? So that is the most simplistic term, the simplest definition that they came up with. They also said this leadership is the study of people who triumph against overwhelming odds and inspire others to new possibilities. So are leaders born or made? Yes. Yes is the answer. Yes, we are all born, and then of course we are made. And here's the interesting thing, of all the research, the top 4 characteristics of admired leaders are honest, forward-looking, inspiring, confident. Say it.
Honest, forward-looking, inspiring, competent.
How many of you would say you've got all 4 of those in your top categories?
Oh yeah.
One of us feels pretty good about this. But actually, he feels okay about it. This is, there we go, right? So this is, when we're looking to build leadership development, this is what people are looking for. And that's the research, but you tell me, is this what you're looking for? When you want a leader, when you want to follow somebody, you want somebody who's honest, right? Forward-looking, inspiring, competent. But the crash course here is focused on the 5 practices of exemplary leadership. And the first one is model the way. Everyone put your hands together like this. Push them out in front of you, say model the way.
Model the way.
Right? And why do we do that? Why do we learn that way? Because if I did this, you would say what?
Touchdown.
Goal, field goal, touchdown, right? If I did this, you would say?
Traveling.
Traveling, or another sport?
Don't know.
Substitution, false start, right? There's all sorts of different, when we connect our emotions and our body to learning, we learn a lot better. So put your hands together and say model the way.
Model the way.
Right? And teach your students this stuff. Next is inspire a shared vision. So you're going to hold up the binoculars, take a look around, and say inspire a shared vision.
Inspire a shared vision.
Your students are going to ask you, where were you Monday? And you're going to get to say, well, I did these goofy things, we did this, I was doing this in front of 40 other people in the room. Tell them, just wait. Challenge the process. So grab your hammer and knock the wall down, say challenge the process.
Challenge the process.
Right, that's practice number 3. Number 4 is enable others to act. So it's like you're going to give them a little nudge. We heard about nudging earlier, so go ahead, give them a little nudge. Up here, not down here, that's inappropriate. All right? And then lastly, encourage the heart. So however you want to make a heart, put it right in front of you, encourage the heart.
Encourage the heart.
All right, so all together, model the way.
Model the way.
Inspire a shared vision.
Inspire a shared vision.
Challenge the process. Enable others to act. Encourage the heart. See how easy we can remember that when we put some motion to it. Right? So now let's dive deep into each of these. There's the 5 practices, and each practice has 2 particular commitments for a full 10 commitments that we introduce, that we want you to introduce to students as well. And then there's 30 behaviors. So that's, again, what we were talking about, Jeff, earlier, how simple and practical it is. These are the 30 behaviors. If you do these 30 behaviors, this will get you to be applying leadership much more frequently. Now, of course, today's the crash course. We've got 50 minutes. So let's hop into what?
Model the way.
Good. Let's keep the motions going. So the 2 commitments are this: clarify values by finding your voice and affirming shared values, and then set the example by aligning actions with shared values. So you tell me, because this isn't easy stuff. That's what we love about it most. Clarify values by finding your voice and affirming shared values. What are your values? What are values overall? Your beliefs, right? Things that are important to you. So if I had to just randomly pick out and say, what are your values? What's most important to you? What do you believe? What's the biggest thing for you? First thing on your mind. What's important to you?
Eating.
Eating. Cool. We love eating. We got to eat to sustain ourselves. What do you love? What's important to you?
Faith.
Faith. What's important to you?
Giants.
Giants. Yes. What's important to you? Family.
Student.
Student. Friends. Family. Look how many different answers we have. And there's 40 of us in this room. Do you think we'd all have different answers? But if I said, what are your top 10, maybe we'd have some similar, right? The whole point is clarifying your values, understanding what's most important to you as a leader. Because if you don't know what's important to you, then how do you act that way? Right? That's the whole point. When we look at the Student Leadership Challenge, the way Jim and Barry, the authors of the book, the way they put this together, are really genius. They said, well, this is a leader's thinking, and this is a leader's action. So all the commitments are going to be thinking and action, thinking and action. So this is how we think. We've got to think about what's important to us, what are our values. And then the action is set the example. So the question I've got for you is, how many of you can consistently and easily say, yes, I know what my top 5 values are, and I live congruently to achieve and maintain those values? How many of you can confidently say, yep, I know what they are and I do what they are? That was like 4 hands. Tell me a value that's important to you that you're not following through with. Right? So how many of you can easily say, I know what some of my values are, and I know how I'm not congruent with those, and I know how I'm not modeling the way? How many of you, let's be honest, honesty is the first admired trait, right? Putting us on the spot. So these are the commitments of modeling. Easy stuff, right? But look at how easy it is to get off track from actually setting the example and modeling the way. I claim that health and fitness is really important to me. I ran 2 times in the last month. Now, I am my son's soccer coach and I do physical things, but am I keeping up with my physical fitness goals? Probably not. And I like ice cream every night. Party cake by Turkey Hill? Try it. You'll never go back. So this is Model Away. Let's hop into Inspire Shared Vision. 2 commitments. The first one, envision the future by imagining exciting and ennobling possibilities, and then enlist others in a common vision by appealing to shared aspirations. And we'll break these 2 down. Of course they're easy, but envision the future by imagining exciting and ennobling possibilities. Can you give me an example, when working with students, what's an exciting and ennobling possibility in the future? I mean, we've got 4 years with them, sometimes 2. What's part of that vision? Yeah, what would you say?
Graduation.
Graduation, right? So how can we talk about graduation in an exciting and ennobling way? You know, because most students, when you ask them, hey, what do you want to achieve over the next couple of years? They say, I want to graduate. Well, guess what? So does everybody else. So how do we get them to get excited about that? What could you say? What would you do to help clarify those values so that we can envision that future? What could we do? I don't ask rhetorical questions. Yeah.
Help them find like a fun, cool way to achieve that.
Help them find a fun, cool way to achieve it.
Being engaged on campus, it's not just academic.
Yeah, right? How do we earn our way to graduation? By doing something a little bit more, getting engaged in a different way, so that when we walk, we can look at our fellow peers and say, I met them, I was with them, I engaged with them, we did something cool, we made a difference. I love that, thanks for sharing. Another thought.
Introduce them to alumni who can come back and share their experience.
Yeah, that's a brilliant idea. Introduce them to alumni who've already graduated, right? It's the whole mentorship idea. You want to find someone and connect with somebody who's already done what you want to do. I love it, right? So that's the thinking. Then the action is enlist others in a common vision by appealing to those shared aspirations. Next is what?
Challenge the process.
Challenge the process, right? So this most simplistic version of challenge the process is, what would you say? Ask questions. Yeah, at the base of it, ask questions. Do it a little differently. Think outside the box. Right? So here's the way a leader thinks and acts. Search for opportunities by seizing the initiative and looking outward for innovative ways to improve. And then experiment and take risks by constantly generating small wins and learning from experiences. This one fairly obvious, right? But what would you say is the easiest way to search for opportunities by seizing the initiative? How can we help our students do that? Or how can you start by doing that yourself? It's okay to fail, as long as you move forward and as long as we learn when we fail. It's okay to fail, but we've got to build a culture on campus, in our student organizations, that says it's okay to fail. Because fail in so many ways means so many different things, right? Does anyone know a good acronym for fail?
First attempt in learning.
First attempt in learning, that's the one I was thinking of too. She's like, oh my God! I could not pick you. Good, right? So it's okay to think outside the box, challenge the process, and you have to fail. Fail forward, fail fast, but fail frequently. Right? So that's kind of the deeper stuff that we get into in the fuller experience, but I want to give you a little heads up. It's okay to fail. Focus on progress, not perfection. How many of you are perfectionists, by the way? Just by a show of hands. I know it's a disease in higher ed. Perfectionism, perfectionaria, perfection. There's a lot of different ways that we say this. Just want to put this out there. Perfectionism is the lowest standard possible because it's impossible. So you're aiming for something that doesn't exist. So instead of doing that, focus on progress, not perfection. If you're with me, say uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
All right, appreciate that. The next one is
Enable others to
Enable
act.
others to act. Get those hands up there, right? And then you're giving a little nudge, enable them, empower them, right? So how do we do this? The leader's thinking and the leader's action is I'm not a reader. Foster collaboration by building trust and facilitating relationships, and then strengthen others by increasing self-determination and developing confidence. So we'll break these down. Foster collaboration. What is collaboration?
Work together.
Partnership, I like that. What else? Hands up so I know who's talking.
Co-laboring.
Who?
Co-laboring.
Co-laboring, working together at the same time, right? Now, it's different than cooperation, right? Because I can cooperate with the police and still not be on their team, right? But collaboration is we kind of do this together. So that's what we want to foster, building trust and then facilitating relationships. Facilitate simply means to make easier. We want to make relationships easier. That's our job. But then the action is strengthening others, not beating people up, not picking on them, not giving them the consequences, but strengthening others by increasing their determination for the vision, for challenging the process, for modeling the way, and developing confidence. What would you say is a really cool, easy, foundational way of doing that? That we can, you know what, challenge ourselves. How can you do that for yourself first? Lastly is encourage the what?
The heart.
Encourage the heart. Now, this is the most interesting one because most people actually don't know how to do this, right? I get some head nods on that. So let's go through the leader's thinking, leader's action. First, recognize contributions by showing appreciation for individual excellence. Then the action is celebrate the values and victories by creating a spirit of community. What's the easiest way of doing this?
Say thank you.
Say thank you. Did it happen today where you held the door open for somebody and they didn't say thank you? Did anyone have that happen today? Or within the last week? Okay, maybe not today because all of us Nilek folks are awesome, right? But within the last week, the simplest thing, like we go out of our way to hold a door, and maybe you see like the army of people coming through. You're like, it's 8, 9, 10, I'm like, I gotta go, right? All you wanted was a thank you, and you would have been fine with it. We all know the easiest way to give a compliment, right? What do you do? Say the compliment. I thought that was obvious. So the easy way is to say the compliment, but not everyone appreciates compliments in the same way, right? So we've got to do it a little differently. I'm going to give you 3 ways to give the absolute best compliment on the planet. Are you ready for this? The first one, step 1 is say the compliment. Say the compliment, but you got to be sincere when you do it, right? That's critical. Secondly, is follow it up with a reason. So don't just say, hey, I love your shirt. Make it more personal. Say, that shirt looks great on you. Here's why. So give them a reason. Like, it brings out your eyes, or it's really flattering. Give them a reason. And that's, of course, easy. But the third thing is follow it up with a question. A relevant question. Where did you get that shirt? Something real simple. Because when you do that, it takes the limelight off the person now. So if they're like, oh, why do you hate compliments? How many of you hate compliments? You hate receiving compliments, right? If you're uncomfortable or you can't stand it, it takes the limelight off and now you begin an engaging dialogue. Where'd you get the shirt? And you might have a really cool conversation. Is that easy? Yes or yes?
Yes, yes.
Right, so let's do a quick review. First one is?
Model the way. Inspire shared vision. Challenge the process. Enable others to act, encourage the heart.
You see how they actually flow? The motions flow, right? Start here, 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 here. It's like a little story we're building, right? Right, so with that review in mind, let's put it to practice. How many of you are familiar with the wave? You've ever done the wave, ever seen the wave?
Woo!
All right, great. From this side to that side. Ready, set, go. What the hell was that?
It was a ripple.
How many of you have seen the wave before? It doesn't look like that. Okay. How can we do that differently? You tell me, how can we do that a little differently? What does it need to look like, sound like, or feel like?
You need a cheer.
Yeah, how about we make some noise? This is the quietest wave in the history of the planet. Right? So what's the noise that we make when we do the wave? Now, you want to make it extra special? Splash on the way down. Let's try it. All right, so we got the noise. What else do we need to do to make that better?
I gotta stand up.
Stand up, yeah. So we might need to actually prepare and push our seats out to get ready for this. Go ahead, you said I now commit 100%. Okay. Hey, we're gonna model the way, are we not? All right. All right, so we're gonna make sure that we stand up. We're gonna go all the way up. We've got the sound effects. What else can we do to make that better? Plan, go in order, yeah. Let's have some timing to it. So the timing, easiest timing that I recommend, as soon as the person before you is halfway up, that's when the next person gets up. So this really good, easy flow. Is that easy?
Woo!
All right, what else? How else can, I've done this before. How else can we make this better?
Go back.
Send it back?
Yeah.
I love it. So once it gets to the end here, send it right back. I love it. Good.
You could run back and forth and lead us.
I'm just going to run back and forth and lead.
As we
Yeah?
go. Yeah.
All right, you asked for it. All right, what else? Anything else? Anything else we're missing? Really important piece. Do we go on 3 or do we go on go? 1, 2, 3, go, or 1, 2, 3?
Go.
1, 2, 3, go. Okay. So are we ready for this?
Yes.
Model the way. This is your first challenge. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. Overtime. That was the way. Now I know you're looking at me like, why are we doing this? Well, you tell me, how did we just apply the 5 practices?
We thought outside the box.
We thought outside the box, right? So tell me a little bit about that. How did we challenge the process?
Challenge the process by not conforming to a traditional workshop, meeting, educational setting, and we energized the crowd.
Cool. So we're doing something a little different than a standard lecture or workshop. We're getting physically engaged so that we can remember and apply this stuff. Thanks for sharing. Otherwise, how did we actually apply the 5 practices in that moment?
Model the way.
How did we model the way?
Following you, one after each other, looking at the next person.
Yeah. And I didn't see anyone half-ass it. We all whole-assed it, which was cool. I'm trying to get that term out there, by the way. If you could help me out a little bit. Right? Yeah, we started by modeling the way, right? So that was the first thing that we did. Then tell me about inspire a shared vision. Was it my vision?
You came
No,
up.
we collaboratively created the vision for the wave. It only took a few minutes. Granted, student leadership takes a little bit more. This is a small metaphor for how this actually works in the real world, right? So we created it together. We collectively agreed on what we're going to do. You shouted out ideas. We agreed, and we moved forward. We challenged the process by doing something a little differently in sessions. How did we enable others to act? How do we make it easy? How do we facilitate the relationship?
You entrusted us.
I had a lot of trust in the group, right? You could have just looked at me and said, no, right? So we start there by putting trust out there. The easiest way to earn trust is to give it away.
We did it together.
We did it together, right? How many of you were flat out against doing the wave? You're like, no, I do not, I'm not interested. All right, so we were willing to give it a shot, right? But then because you saw the energy, you're like, I gotta keep this energy going, right? Yeah, that was awesome. And then how about encouraging the heart?
I guess in ways, showed, kind of physically, or, supported each other. Yeah.
And then what did we do at the very end? Clapped. Said good job. We looked at each other, smiled. Just simple smiles at somebody. That's a simple acknowledgement, right? So this is kind of the 5 practices in real life as a very short metaphor. Is this something you can easily do with your students?
Yes.
And the whole point is you're showing them, look, we already do this stuff. You already apply the 5 practices. Now we just have to do it more frequently. So that brings me to the question of how do we do it more frequently? You can't talk yourself out of a problem that you behaved yourself into. Right? So we have to behave ourselves out of that problem. So let's start by modeling the way for ourselves, and you can answer this question in one of 2 ways. I'm going to say start with yourself. What's one way that you will apply the 5 practices more frequently? How can you model the 5 practices so that it becomes easier for your students to do the same thing? take a moment, turn to the person on your left or on your right, small groups, and just take a minute or two. How can we apply this stuff? Not flat out now, but more frequently. Ready, set, go. Lastly, leadership needs to be reinforced, right? Leadership development is like taking a shower. I just want to show you the power of reinforcement. Are you ready for the wave one more time?
Yes.
Yes.
Ready? 1, 2, 3,
Go!
Send it back. You see how easy it was that time? After we reinforced it.
Yes.
Awesome. Hey, thank you so much for being here. I'm Joe, that's Tony, that's Mary. See you later.